everyone. I'm Jodi Jackson, and I'm here at Life Coach University. And this is my monthly PIF talk as a manifestation coach. So before I get into talk about my subject today, which is developing habits, I just want to thank you all for being here at Life Coach University at my PIF talk. Pay it forward. Personally, that means so much to me. It's how we make things better by paying it forward. So I hope I can give you some value today, maybe some simple ideas for you to do, help you in some way, because that's how I love to pay it forward. And then if you feel you want to, you can pay it forward in your own way, however you feel fit, whatever's comfortable for you. Whatever that is, buy a coffee, make a phone call to somebody, give someone a smile, anything you feel comfortable with. So let's talk about making habits today. So first of all, let's just talk about what a habit is, right? There's good habits, there's bad habits, but they're all habits in general. A habit, in simple terms, is something we do so much that we make it automatic. It's an automatic thing, whether it be something we do or something we think. It is now automatic in our brains. It's there and it won't go away unless we want it to. So let's backtrack for a second and say, when you're doing something new and something isn't a habit yet, it's in your conscious. You're aware of it. You're aware that you're doing something new. But as I said, you do it so much, whether it be positive or negative, it becomes automatic. When something becomes automatic to us, like riding a bike or brushing our teeth, we don't have to think about it anymore. And we just do it, right? We just do it. Now it's a habit. So now that we know what a habit is, let's talk about the difference between good habits and bad habits. I know I have both. I know I am aware of some of my good habits. I'm definitely aware of some of my bad habits, but it's what you want to do with them, right? We all have them. We all have the habits. So you might see me looking over here sometimes because I tend to get off track and I want to stay on track with you and make as much sense as possible for you. So what are some good habits? And what do they do? Good habits are maybe brushing our teeth every day, washing our face, showering, doing things that make us feel good, right? What are other good habits that make us feel good? Maybe going to the gym. You work out, you get those endorphins, it makes you feel good. That's a good habit, right? Again, these are things that you all do so much of that you don't have to think about it, you just do it. The good habits make you feel good. Communicating. I love communicating. I've chosen to make that one of my good habits. I know it makes me feel good to communicate. Another thing that makes me feel good is staying in touch with people I love, making sure on a regular basis that I talk to my family. My mom is 90. I'm so happy to still have her around. I want to talk to her. So I talk to her every couple of days, every few days. It's a good habit I've developed. It makes me feel all good and tingly inside. Those things that make us feel good make us want to do more. They make us have an energy that other people feel, right? Because energy attracts energy. So when you're doing those nice things that make you feel good, you ripple that out. That's in itself a way to pay it forward. I'm just thinking about that now. So these are good habits. Let's talk about bad habits. Again, whether it be a good or a bad habit, they become automatic and they switch from our conscious to our unconscious, good or bad. Okay, so now let's talk about bad habits that are in our unconscious, whether we like it or not. I know a lot of people either like or don't like that phrase, it is what it is. Personally, I like that phrase because I've learned to be okay with whatever's happening. It's nice to have some compassion for yourself and not beat yourself up. So I have compassion for my bad habits as well. We're human. We are human. We're not the animals. We're not the plants. We're not anything else on this earth that is pure energy that only feels energy. As humans, we're in our heads. So let's give ourselves a break. Okay? Be kind to ourselves. Have some compassion for ourselves when we go through talking about these bad habits. So, what are bad habits? Bad habits could be procrastination, right? You don't like it, but you do it anyway. How about smoking? Smoking is something to make you feel good for a short amount of time. You may not like it, but it does something for you. Maybe it gives you those endorphins like the gym does, but it's easy and it can be right there for you. And you just do it. It's a habit, right? Drinking, same thing. Being late, that's one of my bad habits. I tend to be late. But we'll get into something else about that too, awareness of bad habits. And we'll get into that for a second and, in a little bit, and we'll talk about that's part of getting out of the bad habits. Here's a huge one, negative self-talk. Who doesn't have negative self-talk? I know I do. I don't think I know anybody that doesn't have negative self-talk. Why? It's easy. It's easy to do. We make a habit of it and we keep doing it, right? Again, good or bad, it goes both ways. So what that means is we think of not what that means is, but we think of our bad habits more than we think of our good habits, because we're wired to think of the negativity before we think of the positivity. Doesn't mean to say you can't switch that up. And as a coach, that is exactly what I look to guide people with. There's something you don't like, flip it on its head. There's a very, very dangerous phrase out there that I try to get away from as much as possible. which is, it's always been this way, so this is how we do it. Or we do it because it's always been done this way. Does that mean that needs to continue? If you have a bad habit, just because you've always done it that way, does that mean that's got to stay that way? Definitely not. Definitely not. But you need the awareness to even know that it's happening, to be able to change and grow from anything. You need the awareness. Sometimes we can get that awareness on our own. Sometimes we need some help getting that awareness. Either way is fine. It's whatever's comfortable for you. Nowadays, going for therapy, going for coaching, there was a time in the past where that was a taboo to go get help. Thankfully, no more. There was also another time further along on the timeline where it was a fashionable thing to have a therapist or a coach, right? I have somebody to talk to. Now I think it's just been normalized. So you have a choice. You can have help with your awarenesses on your own, or you can go get help. Whatever's comfortable for you. I'm all about comfort. I'm all about simplicity. If you've seen any of my PIP talks before or my videos, you know this is where I come from. Simplicity and comfort. Saying that, you don't grow by staying in your comfort zone 100%. That's not going to happen. But we rather stay in the negative where we're familiar than go outside our comfort zone into change. I'm going to say that again. We rather stay in the familiar of our comfort zone and our automatic bad habits because we know them and they're comfortable, rather than step outside our comfort zone to the unknown to grow. Now, this is something that's very normal. Again, as humans, this is normal. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be angry about. I'm simply telling you so that it becomes an awareness. Is this you? Is this something you're going through? You don't like where you are, but you have a hard time changing it up. If this is you, this is completely okay. And you should not feel bad about this at all. So when you feel this way, you have a choice, right? So habits go along with choices. You have a good habit and you had a choice to make that good habit and you've decided to do it. You have a bad habit and you make a choice once you're aware, right? Once you're aware, it's gone out of your unconscious into your conscious. Your awareness is your conscience. Your awareness is your conscience, but awareness is your conscious. So, sorry, I just made myself lose my train of thought. So once you have the awareness, you choose whether you want to stay there or whether you want to change, grow, and move on, and actually be happier and like who you are for what you do, right? There's nothing bad that can come out of good habits. And they're your good habits, nobody else's. They're your good habits. You choose them and you start doing them. So let's talk about how you do that. Okay. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Let me go behind. Let me back up. Sorry. And say, where do good or bad habits come from? Where do they come from? Well, this can be nature versus nurture, right? How did you grow up? What are the kinds of people that you were around? Who are the kinds of people that you chose to be around? Did you keep being around your family and friends that instilled good habits in you? That could have been hard. Everybody's upbringing is different. And it's up to you and how you were taught to gain the kind of habits you have. So think about that. What was your family like? What were they teaching you? What were they telling you? And then with that, who are the people as you were growing up that you were around? Who did you stay with? Who did you like being with versus not like being with? And why? If you didn't get a good feeling about somebody or the way they spoke to you or the values they had, if you didn't agree with it, were you able to get away? Or is that what you grew up with? And I'm talking about, your single digit years, your teens, your 20s, your 30s. Think about as you've gotten older, who are you around? Are you around people that keep that negative feeling and those negative habits for you to keep going? Or are you someone that doesn't like it? You realize, you've become aware that you don't like it, and you've broken that chain, sorry, and changed it up and did what was best for you so you could be happy. Between growing up in our families, society, and then as we're older and we can control things and make our own choices, who we choose to be around, all have an influence on whether we're making good habits or those bad habits, right? So now you can think about which one you do. If you do the good habits, great. I'm so happy for you. That is a ripple out effect. When you are happy and you have that happy energy, because those good habits make you feel good and it's rippling out to others. Now, what if you have good and bad habits? You have bad habits too. Are you aware of those bad habits? And if you weren't, are you now? Maybe it's something you just need to think about, become aware, reflect on that awareness. And then you can think about what you want to do, what choices you want to make. So let's talk about the choices now. When you make a choice, you are no longer in your unconscious. You are back in your conscious when you're making a choice. So what choice are you going to make? That's really scary. Making choices can be scary, especially if it's something that it's a place that you've never been. It's something you've never done. You don't know how to do it. Maybe you don't know where to find help. It's scary. So how do you do it? How do you make that choice? Well, another thing I like to say all the time, don't go big or go home. Another thing I flip on its head. Don't go big or go home. To help you figure out what to do to make that choice, you take the absolute smallest step you can take outside your comfort zone. Remember, if you don't get outside your comfort zone, you will not grow, you will not change. So it needs to be outside your comfort zone, but take the teeniest, tiniest, smallest step you can think of to do that. So let's come up with an example, right? Let's do something about this. Let's do smoking, right? You want to stop smoking. Maybe you have kids and you don't like smoking around your kids. Maybe you don't like the thought that, are you always going to be around? Because you know smoking is bad. What's a tiny step that you can do so that you get that cigarette out of your mouth? Well, smoking has, smoking definitely has other ways for you to get that feeling, right? There's those nicotine patches. There's gum. There's lollipops. There's all kinds of things that you can do rather than put that cigarette in your mouth, right? You can put your cigarettes in the car, right? That's actually something I started doing with my phone. I didn't want to be on my phone at night. What's a small step that I can do? I can get my phone out of the house and I put my phone in the car before I go into my bedroom at night. It's not in the room. I don't have that impulse, right? That was my small step. So the important thing is to go small, right? So you've made the choice to do something, first of all. And then you've made the choice of what that small step is going to be, right? Okay, so let's go on with the smoking. And you find that one of those ways, the nicotine patch or the lollipops or whatever it is not satisfying you. Okay, you're aware of that. That's an awareness. Try something else. What else can you try? And you keep trying different things until you find what works for you. Now you found something that works for you. You've done that other step, right? You keep doing that till that's a habit, right? You're going to take every step and make it a habit. So what's a next step that you can make a habit after finding whatever it is that works for you? What's the next step you can take? How about not needing that nicotine patch as much? I think they actually help you with that too. I've never had one. I've never used one, but I feel like you use that nicotine patch less and less and less. So it's helping you with those steps, right? There's less nicotine as you go on until the nicotine patch has so little in it that you don't feel like you need anything anymore. So the patch in itself really is a great lesson in steps, right? But maybe you still want something. Maybe you still enjoy having something in your fingers or putting something in your mouth. Gum, lollipops, a piece of candy you enjoy. What you're doing is you're getting something to take the place of the cigarette. Some people can't just stop doing anything. So that's a step in itself, right? You're getting something to take the place of what you were doing before. You are deleting something and you're adding something. This is one way you can help make choices. You can delete. I like to say you can edit, change it up, and add something in. And that's something that you could do with the smoking. So I hope this is making sense. If you ever have any questions about this, you can get in touch with me. I will tell you how you can get in touch with me. You can get in touch at Life Coach University and ask your questions, which is simply hello@lifecoachuniversity.com. So your choices are making you feel better. Why? Because you've chosen to have the awareness that there's something you don't like. And then you've chosen to want to do something about it. That in itself, that right there says so much about you. You want to improve. And if you've come from a place where you have people around you that don't support you in that way, I applaud you. That is not an easy thing to do. And if you never realized that you might have people around you to help you, go to them, ask for their help. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not something we're taught to ask for help. I'm here to tell you, people love to help. It's a validation to them that you are going to them. It makes them feel so good. So it's the opposite of what a lot of people think. So I don't want to get too off track here. So I'm going to look back at my notes so I stay on track. So we're talking about how you create the habits, right? You make the choices and you do them, and you see how those choices make you feel, right? Just because you made the choice does not mean it's something you're going to like. That's where the mistakes come in. Mistakes help you make your choices and ultimately become habits. Make those mistakes. Make choices that you may not like. You can't know what you like and what you don't like and which direction you want to go in until you know what it feels like, right? You're on a bike and you have two paths you can go down. You go down one path and it's very bumpy. You don't like that bumpiness. So what do? Next time, you try the other path. It's much smoother. It has a more beautiful view, but you would have never known if you hadn't taken that first path. You might have known if you'd taken that second path, but you didn't learn anything to get there. Learning something just gives you information. It's like a download that you know what to do and what not to do next time. Because if you only took the one path that's good, then in the future, you could very well take another path you didn't like. So because you took the path you didn't like first, what was so bad about that? Now you know for the future, and no mistakes will be made. Because you know there's nothing wrong with making mistakes to learn and make the choices that you want. Here's another thing I always say. Be compassionate for yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Where is it going to get you to beat yourself up? Is it going to do anything good for you? Is it going to do something bad? Beating ourselves up is a big habit for many, many of us. And it never gets us anywhere. So why do it? You know, it's one thing we don't think about when we're making choices. We make a choice, we don't like it, and we automatically go to beat ourselves up or think ill of ourselves. So how about next time you do something you don't like? Pull out and look at the big picture. Be a fly on the wall and look at yourself after what you just did and say to yourself, was that really such a bad thing? What's going to happen with this in my future? How bad was this really? How much is this going to throw me off really? And you might be surprised to find that it really is not so bad. It's just a habit to go from something we don't like that we did automatically to beat ourselves up. Another habit, a habit you may want to change. That's another thing you can do. Ask yourself, how bad is this really? And go from there and go from that awareness, right? So you have your habits, you have your choices to what you want to do, and it's all up to you where you go. The more awareness and reflection, the reflection you have on your awareness and things you say to yourself, pros and cons, where is this going to take me? Where is this going to take me? Which path do I want to be on? How do I ultimately want to feel? And take the path you choose, try it. If you don't like it, take a different path. So what? Is it affecting you that badly? Try something new. Don't forget to be compassionate with yourself. And keep moving forward. Don't stay in that automatic pilot of the unconscious. Once you realize you have a bad habit you don't want anymore, get it out of your unconscious immediately. Get it into your conscious and work on it. I promise you, if you work on it, you're going to feel better about yourself just by working on it. And don't forget about those mistakes or things that you don't like while you're working on it. It's okay. When did you ever try something for the very first time and get it perfect? I know that has never happened for me. It always takes practice. And I always have things to speed bumps to get over, right? It's riding that bicycle. Keep going. Keep doing it. Keep moving forward until those choices become habits. You can do this. And then those habits have now become good habits because you've always been conscious about it this whole time. How do you feel now? What has changed in you? Look back on where you were, what it took on your journey to where you are now. And if you're still on your journey, guess what? Life is a journey. I always like to think, I don't want to get to the end. I always want to be on a journey. The journey is what makes it worth it. What are you going to do at the end? What are you going to do once you're there? You'll be happy for a little while, but then everything is the same old, right? What are you going to do now? Life is always change. Life is never stagnant. The only constant that we ever have in our lives, one thing that's constant in our life, that's it, change. That means everything is changing all the time. The sooner you get used to change, the sooner you're comfortable with movement and moving forward. So I see there's a couple of questions here. Please feel free to ask me questions at this point if you haven't already. If you want to get in touch with me, you can go to my website at Jodi, J-O-D-I-K, Jackson. Sorry, this is not my website. I get so passionate about what I'm talking about. This is my email, jodikjackson@gmail.com. Feel free to ask me any questions. I will get back to you. I always promise to do that just because I simply love talking to people. I love doing it. I love sharing the wealth. If you want to go to my website, that is www.restoreYouCoachingAndReiki.com. All one word. My Facebook page, if you want to get a feel for who I really am, that is my full name, Jodi, Jodi, Kaufman, Kaufman, Jackson. And that is my Facebook page. I also have a business page on Facebook of the same name as my website, Restore You Coaching and Reiki. Go to any of those places to get in touch with me. I'd love to speak to you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let me go to some questions here. Building habits with people who support it makes it easy to create or change them. It really does. What if you're around people who don't support your habit and makes it really difficult for change? Yeah, For example, my friend is trying to lose weight, but his partner keeps buying junk and fast foods. He ends up eating it too. I love this question. So when there's the other people involved, one of the things I talked about before, one of my good habits that I love is communication. Another thing that I love that I'm not always so good with, but I'm practicing, I'm getting better, is boundaries. Communication and boundaries go hand in hand when you are looking to have that tribe of people around you that are going to help you, that are going to be there for you, that are going to have the values that are the same as yours, right? Because then they're going to propel you in the direction you want to go. So the first thing I'd probably say is communicate your intentions to the other person, right? Especially if you have different values, if you're on different planes, which it sounds like you very much are. You communicate to them what your intention is and what you want to do and how they can help you on your way rather than hinder you. And if you can think of it in a nice way, how they're hindering you, that's fine. Some people are a little bit more sensitive than others. You word it in your own way. But I find when you're being your own authenticity, then there's really nothing bad about what you're saying, right? If someone doesn't like it, it's usually something within themselves that they need to deal with, not you, if you're coming from your authenticity. So communicate, be authentic, have your intention. And if you need to, you set boundaries. That can be part of your communication. Can we do this? Can we not bring this into the house? If you're going to have this, can you have it someplace else? Is maybe something you can say. If you have my best interest at heart, can you help me with this? So hopefully that can help you between the communication, through intention, and boundaries. Let's see what else there is. I have the habit of overthinking, don't we all, about what my classmates think about me. I worry so much that they will think badly of me. Sometimes I wake up and I can't go to school. I'm so worried. How can I get rid of this habit? Wow. I absolutely love, love, love this question. And thank you for asking this question, because when I was young, that was me. I had whatever you call school phobia. I thought everyone was against me. I didn't think anyone liked me. I thought I was an oddball. They didn't understand me. And I hated school with a passion. I'd make excuses not to go to school. So I hear you. I get you. I see you. So what you and I had in common with that, or you still have, if you're still going through this, is we seek validation. We need validation, and we're not getting it, right? We want everything to be happy and pretty and good in our world. And it's not happening, and it's making us sad, feel bad, possibly cause anger. We don't want to feel that way. It doesn't feel good. One thing that helped me through it that I'll share with you is starting to feel better about myself, right? The kind of things we're taught when we grow up are to, like I was saying earlier, to think big, go big or go home. It feels good to have people like you. You want everybody to like you. So you want to fit into the world instead of carve out your own spot. That's a really big deal. I feel like if I was told it's okay to carve out my little nook in the world and be who I wanted to be, I'd probably go into school thinking very differently. But we're not taught that, are we? We're taught to go with the flow of whatever's happening in the world, because that's what's going to be easier on us. Rather, instead of be who we want to be and feel the way we want to feel and be our own person, because that's going to be harder. And they're right, it is harder. But ultimately, when you create habits, when you make choices to create habits, to feel good about yourself, then ultimately you don't care what those people think because you're happy with yourself, right? And ultimately that's what we want to be. We want to be happy with ourselves. And we create those good habits to be happy with ourselves. So what are good habits that you can do with going to school and having that fear that people don't like you? Well, what is first of all, I would like to hear what you're thinking about this, if anything has come up for you, because it took me some time. I'm really curious what your age is, where you are in life, feeling this way, because depending on how old we are and where we are in life really has to do with how we're going to cope with this. So if you're still here and you can tell me that, I'd love to hear that answer, because if you're in your younger years, the younger you are, the more we care about what people think when we're brought up in those average ways of go with the flow, it's easier, work really hard, get as far as you can, right? Rather than what's the smallest, most comfortable step that you can do and let your weirdness come out. Be who you are. Make yourself happy, no matter what that is, right? You don't hear that when you're little. We get lots of stress put on us when we're little. So we care what people think. We don't like how we feel. And that stays with us for a while. That's why our earlier years and our mid years, like our tween years, are so hard. And then our later teen years, we're just starting to figure out more and more what we like and what we maybe don't like so much. So how do you get confidence in yourself? Because that's what you want to do. You want to have confidence in yourself. What makes you happy? If you're doing what makes you happy, you will have confidence in yourself. Do you do any extracurricular activities? Do you dance? Do you like bike riding? Do you like to do things with your families? Do you like hiking? Do you like being around animals in nature? If you're doing what you love, you're going to be happier within yourself too. And you're going to gain more confidence because you're doing what makes you feel good, right? So the more you do what you like, the more that confidence will start, right? Here's something else that a lot of people may not realize. It's getting a little bit away from the habits, but I want to answer your question. Normally, when people are in a negative state, they don't like themselves. Maybe you do already like yourself, and they don't like seeing that in you. Could that be? Because that's something I realized later in life. I had a lot of bullies. I had people that wanted to beat me up. I had people that didn't like me because I was different. I didn't know how to not be different. It's just who I was, right? I'm that black sheep in my family. I don't know if you are too, which is not a bad thing. So once you realize that they don't like themselves and they don't care about making good habits, maybe they can't, maybe they're not aware of their bad habits. Maybe they're around people that keep them in a negative state. That doesn't mean that you have to be. So you do what you love, what makes you smile, which brings up those happy endorphins for you. And you gain that confidence in yourself. So I hope that helps you in what you're doing. I was just looking to see if there's any more questions. So if you're in the bad habits and you want to be in the good habits, it's up to you to make those choices. When you're making those choices, you're coming into the conscious, right? Think about what those choices are you're going to want to make and how you're going to do them to get to those positive habits that are going to make you happy about yourself, what you're doing, what values you have or want to have. What it all comes down to really is who you want to be. What kind of person do you want to be? Once you envision, you think about the kind of person you want to be, what kind of values does that mean that person has? What does that person do that has those values and is that way, is being that person, right? You could start with who you want to be and work backwards. And if you see those bad habits versus who you want to be, get on that path to change it. I promise you, it is a good feeling. So I hope that I've helped you today. I hope I've given you some positivity, maybe some food for thought to think about. If you're realizing that you have those good habits and you're happy with yourself, I'm so happy to be a mirror for you. I'm also happy to be a mirror for the people that may not love their habits. But that is okay, because awareness is the first step for anything that you want to change. Awareness, reflect on that awareness, and come up with what you want to do. So thank you for being here at Life Coach University. It is my honor to talk to you about creating habits, good or bad. And I look forward to seeing you next month. If you want to come back, please get in touch with me if you want to. And please, please, please pay it forward in any way you feel fit. It can be that smallest possible way. It could be that most comfortable way. Just, it makes you feel good, definitely makes the other person feel good. So enjoy, and I'll see you next month. Take care. Bye-bye.